Hi, this is Dan. The whole process of streaming to Twitch and then uploading the video later is proving to be a little bit of a learning curve there. Last night I wasn't able to successfully build the video. It was corrupted. And then today I had the screen capture misconfigured so that while the audio was there, the picture was just of a blank screen. So I'm not uploading video from this evening's session either. But again, something came up in this evening's session that is noteworthy, and so I'm going to spend a few minutes discussing it. So when you look at the specific spell Nystul's Magic Aura, and what it's going through now with Dimgaard and players in Dimgaard and the wider D&D community, it illustrates kind of an important thing about 5th edition and really rules in general. So Nystul's Magic Aura is an old spell. It's been a part of every edition of D&D, I believe. I believe it was part of AD&D, and it's always been, kind of a throwaway spell. It's kind of a little gimmicky thing. Its primary use is the DM will have a foil, place it on a sword, so that the sword appears magical to detect magic, and then try and pawn it off as this legendary weapon in the markets of some town, and that will be a side quest or a plot hook or something like that. And it's still conducive to that, right? But when you look, so for a long time I was like, this was Magic Aura, yeah, I know what that does, I'll name it this one. Then last fall, I was looking through things that I was, I'm getting past stuff and I'm drilling down into stuff. And I revisited Nystul's Magic Aura. And it looks, at first glance, like Nystul's Magic Aura has always been. However, when we take a real discriminating look at it, we see that there are some changes in 5th edition that can have some pretty significant impact. There's the false aura, which is what it's always been used for, and everyone thinks that, oh yeah, that's what it is. But then there is this second feature, it's called mask. You change the way the target appears to spells and magic effects that detect creature types, such as a paladin's divine sense or the trigger of a symbol spell. You choose a creature type, and other spells and magic effects treat the target as if it were a creature of that type or of its alignment. Wait, so that broadens the utility of Nystul's Magic Aura. It has a duration of 24 hours, so you cast it. You're like, oh, we're about to take a long rest. I'm going to cast Nystul's Magic Aura and I'm going to mask my creature type as a giant. And then the next afternoon, the evil priest casts Hold Person on me, right? And Mass says that you choose a creature type, giant, and other spells and magical effects treat the target as if it were a creature of that type or of that alignment. So Hold Person treats me as if I'm a giant and fails. Now, when I first noticed this, I thought, yeah, that seems weird. That's a real deviation. What I originally encountered it for was I had a lich who wanted to create a simulacrum, but he's an undead, so he uses Nystul's Magic Aura to appear as a humanoid so that he can cast a simulacrum, targeting himself. And there are a lot of people who know a lot about rules, and whenever I brought this up to them, I was like, oh yeah, Nystul's Magic Aura is weird, it's different now. Like, oh no, it's not. And I would present it to them. And rather than examine the situation and say, okay, I'm going to base my opinion on information, rather than trying to foist my opinion onto data that doesn't acclimate to it, right? They would begin to torture us. It's like, oh, well, whole person is not detecting. But it absolutely is. It's like the very definition. It detects your creature type. It only works on humanoids. Like, no, they're like, no, the caster determines. And the thing is, whether it detects it or not is irrelevant. The wording says the spells treat the target as if it is that creature type, period. Right? And then I was going to say, well, you have to look at specific versus general. Well, mask is the specific case because, and the reason that they would bring that up is because it says that in the broader sense, it says that it works against divination spells. Right? But then in the specific mask, which is a sub-entry within Nystul's Magic Aura, it says that it works on all spells, such as the trigger for symbol, which is not a divination; it's an abjuration. So anyway, the point is that we need to sometimes take a step back and look at things and say, yeah, things may have changed. That I appreciate that. I've been aware and played with Nystul's Magic Aura for, let me think, what would that be, 37 years? And you know, I read it, and it doesn't work. It works differently in 5th edition, and that comes up a lot. And for some reason, whenever that comes up, right, whenever you have something like where I first encountered it in 5th edition was when I showed up at Gen Con in 2015 and had owls using the help action to grant me advantage, or other players or administer potions of healing to people who are unconscious. And people are like, well, owls can't do that. I'm like, well, yeah, they absolutely can do that. And now, 2 years later, no one even looks twice when you have an owl go in and do, an owl familiar go in and do the things that owl familiars do all the time. But for some reason, people get locked into theirs. I had another casualty trying to prepare the video to upload to YouTube, and so I'm going to make another brief video based on a topic that came up in the session rather than actually posting the session. You should, if you were following on Twitch, you'll recognize this. And we ended up spending a little time, like several minutes at least, talking about Nystul's Magic Aura. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because Nystul's Magic Aura demonstrates a couple of things that are important in 5th edition. The first one is 5th edition has a lot of things that you look at, especially if you're a very experienced player, and you think, oh, I know that. I've seen that for 25 years, 30 years, 37 years, for me in the case of Nystul's Magic Aura. Yeah, I know what that does. And then you form these presumptions about it. And this comes up all the time, comes up in a variety of ways. But Nystul's Magic Aura, because, you know, for 3 years, I thought, yeah, I know what Nystul's Magic Aura is. I don't need to look at it anymore. But then last fall, the way I sometimes do, I was just kind of leafing through, saying, well, let me look at stuff freshly, and I looked at Nystul's Magic Aura. Nystul's Magic Aura has changed, right? And it is not a obvious change, right? You have to look at it and examine it to realize it, but it is a definite and powerful change, right? So Nystul's Magic Aura now has a secondary effect. Besides allowing the rogue to pass off the mundane sword as a magic sword, which is what it's always been used for, you can mask your creature type. So I can, as a as a human wizard, I can say, well, I'm going to cast Nystul's Magic Aura on myself so that I appear as a giant. Right? And the reason you would do that is because you don't want to be subjected to something like Whole Person, right? Because it only works with humanoids. But I look at it. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. That's an interesting thing. Man, did I have a real backlash, both whenever I made this point, right? And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why people don't want to recognize that changes occur and that they're just a part of the game, and that the important thing is to recognize, is to understand those changes. And even those who don't like the fact that Nystul's Magic Aura is now significantly more powerful, rather than say, "Oh, okay, that's too powerful for me. I'm going to, in my game, I'm going to eliminate that effect." We'll still use the aura, the false aura, but we're going to eliminate the mask effect because that's just too. But rather than just do that, which is a valid decision, a straightforward decision, consistent with 5th edition, they want to try to shoehorn and twist and navigate things so that they don't have to change their opinions. Rather than say, oh, okay, my data set has expanded and I'm going to form a new opinion. This is true throughout life, not just in D&D. Now, I don't know how many, since I became aware of this last fall, I don't know how much time, many hours at least, where I've had people who insist that they know a lot about the game, just wrong, right? So they're like, oh well, it only works against divinations. And I was like, no, it specifically gives an example, the symbol spell, which is an abjuration. It does not work just with divinations. The broader Nystul's Magic Aura is intended for divinations, but Mass specifically notes that it works against things other than divination. I'm like, well, it only works against things that detect creature type, and Whole Person doesn't detect creature type. You're just not a valid target. It's the caster that determines it, not the spell. No, that's not what it says. It says the spell or magic effect treats the target as if it were that creature. So and it explains that the way that it does that is to fool the spell that is detecting it. But the mechanism is important. The effect is the same. Whole Person will treat you like you are a giant if you've used Nystul's Magic Aura to appear as a giant, and it will fail. It will not. I understand that some people are like, oh well, that's way too powerful for a first level spell that lasts 24 hours, and I'm not going to let it in my game. That's fine. I don't have any issue with that. Do that, right? That is a valid opinion based upon facts, and no one is going to disagree with you, I don't think. But don't deny facts, right, because you don't like them, right? That is an borderline insane proposition to take. But I have, I have people on Facebook who are reportedly some of the most knowledgeable rules people in the Adventure League structure, who just are just wrong, just saying, oh no, Mass doesn't work against Whole Person, and that's just wrong. So don't just be wrong, right? Expand your data set, formulate a new opinion, right? But don't just be wrong. Accept the fact that things have changed, and embrace those changes in whatever way that you feel is necessary. And there's nothing wrong with deciding that you're going to vary from the way that things work now. If you prefer the way Nystul's Magic Aura has traditionally worked and don't want to include the mask option, just announce that to your players and let the chips fall where they and enforce it. I mean, that's a perfectly valid DM decision. not only is it valid, but it is expected with a position. So that's Nystul's magic R.